Welcome to the Alberta Legislature for Thursday, April the 18th, 1991. My name is David Carter, Speaker of the House and member for Calgary-Egmont. After question period today, the House will be moving to written questions, of which there are a considerable number, and also motions for returns, for which there are even more. And then, if there's time, we will move on to consideration of motion 201, as sponsored by the Leader of the Opposition, which deals with public notification with regard to available positions in designated government commissions. Then at 4:30, the House will be dealing with Bill 204, the Freedom of Information and Protection of Personal Privacy Act, as sponsored by the member for Edmonton-Glengarry. This evening, the House will convene at 8 o'clock and will be dealing with the estimates of the Department of Economic Development and Trade. Let us pray. O Lord, grant us the daily awareness of the precious gift of life which you have given us. As members of this legislative assembly, we dedicate our lives anew to the service of our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors, presenting petitions, reading and receiving petitions.
Member for Calgary Foothills.
Mr. Speaker, I move the petitions for private bills that I presented to the Assembly yesterday be deemed to have now been read and received.
Does the Assembly agree with the motion as moved by the member for Calgary Foothills? Opposed? Carried.
Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
I have member for Edmonton Whiteman, Meadowlark, followed by Edmonton Jasper.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to give oral notice of motion under Standing Order 40 that at the end of question period today I will seek unanimous consent of the Assembly in order to deal with the following motion. That the Legislative Assembly of Alberta congratulate Dr. David Schindler, Killam Memorial Professor of Ecology at the University of Alberta, on being awarded the Stockholm Water Prize in recognition of his outstanding contribution in the field of water conservation.
Edmonton Jasper, please. Edmonton. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Advanced Education.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to file with the Assembly the response to written question 279.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Calgary Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is with pleasure that I introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly two members from Calgary from the Shared Parenting Association of Alberta. We have Mr. Merv Ennis, the co-president, and Mr. Gary Malkowski, the volunteerism director. They're seated in the members gallery, and I would ask that they please rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Thank you. Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly Ms. Elaine Schmidt and Mr. David Patterson, along with 46 grade 10 students from Central Memorial High School visiting from Calgary. They are in the members gallery, and I'd like them to stand and receive the very warm welcome of the Legislative Assembly.
Thank you. Member for Innisfail.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a real pleasure today to introduce to you and to the rest of the Members' Assembly 36 grade 6 students from the Innisfail John Wilson Elementary School. Accomplished by their teachers, Janet Hanwell, Peter Dole, and parents, Mrs. Sharp, Mrs. Bjarnason, and Andrew Dowell. I'd like all the members to rise and give the greeting. The students to rise, sorry.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the spring of 1989, department officials advised the Minister of Economic Development and Trade that, with respect to the outstanding loan guarantees to the General Composites Canada Limited, and I'm quoting now from the briefing book, notwithstanding assurances from the company president, the department is concerned about the company's ability to raise equity in time to avoid a cash crisis. That's exactly what the minister had in his briefing book. And, Mr. Speaker, they knew that this company was losing $160,000 a month at that time. Now, the minister had already given General Composites $3 million loan guarantee.
Don't worry about it.
We think.
Order, please. Provincial Treasurer, thank you. The chair had the pleasure of listening to question period yesterday via radio. There's an awful lot of static goes on, so perhaps we could cool it here and let's hear what the question really is, and then we'll get around to responses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, everyone, the taxpayers know that this minister had already given that company that was failing, by the way, at the time, a $3 million loan guarantee. Will the minister now confirm to the taxpayers that he also, after that, authorized a $1 million loan guarantee under the Exports Loan Guarantee Program?
Mr. Speaker, as is the tradition in this House, the honourable member again is mistaken. If she has my briefing book, which was taken from my desk in this Legislative Assembly by, I would suggest, honourable members opposite when they're sitting in committee, and if they're proud of going through honourable members' desks, then let them put it on the record. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, all she has to do is read that briefing book. All she has to do is read that briefing book, and she will find that the original $3 million was not advanced by this minister, as she has indicated, which again is another error in her proposition. But we did in turn involve ourselves in the export loan guarantee after the fact. The papers were processed by my predecessor, and I was happy to support that going ahead. I should indicate to the honourable member, though, if she wishes, I could be more forward if she would table the so-called briefing notes that she does have, because as I indicated to her in the spring of the previous session, somebody did take information out of my desk in this Legislative Assembly.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's shameless that he would accuse us of a problem he started by losing his briefing book. He's been as sloppy with his briefing book as he has been with the taxpayers' money, and if he were working for a private company, he would have been fired years ago, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, this company was already in trouble, and he knew it, and he lent out another $1 million on an unsecured program. Why on earth would the minister lend out another $1 million of taxpayers' money on an unsecured program like this, knowing they were in trouble?
Because he doesn't know what he's doing. Mr. Speaker, let's examine the diversification record of this government. we have to look at the big picture. Unlike the honourable member opposite, they can take items in isolation. We've got an obligation to look at the big picture, to make sure that this province is sound economically. If one examines the big picture, you will find, as I've repeated so often in this House, you will find that we've got the strongest economy of any province in Canada. In addition to that, you will find, if you examine the record over the last 5 to 6 years, 102,000 jobs have been created in the province of Alberta. You will also find, if you examine the overall economic record as it relates to our diversification projects, the majority of those jobs have been created outside of agriculture and energy, whereby our diversification endeavors are working within the province of Alberta. We acknowledge, and I've acknowledged on a consistent basis, that there are failures. If one examines venture capitalists, they have a much higher failure rate than what we have had as a province. In talking to the financial institutions, during the depressionary period that we went through in the province of Alberta, their rates were comparable to ours. We don't apologize, but what I do find distasteful is when the honourable member will consistently raise, rather than offer, in a fair way, an assessment of a big picture.
You don't know what the big picture is.
Well, Mr. Speaker, after I photocopy it, I will file what I have from that briefing book, and it makes it really clear. The minister authorized money, $1 million of taxpayers' money, when he knew the company was already in trouble, despite a $3 million loan that had come the year before. My question is this: if the minister is so convinced that the Loan Export Guarantee Program is such a raging success, why doesn't, and by the way, the loans are unsecured and unreported, why doesn't he open up the books for that entire program and table them in the Assembly and let the taxpayers decide?
Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted that the honourable member is going to table the information that was taken from my desk. I'm delighted that she's going to do that. In addition to that, let me table or file, whichever is the correct procedure, with the Legislative Assembly, a book put out by my colleague, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications, which outlines some 1,200 companies creating some 50,000 jobs in the province of Alberta. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to, as the honourable member has just requested, file with the House the success-loss ratios of total assistance offered under our export loan guarantee program, which show that we have had a success rate of some 97%. In addition to that, I'm going to table with the House our activities as it relates to non-program guarantees, direct loans, and small business term assistance plans, so that honourable members all can see that our success rate varies anywhere from 95 to 99% successful.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not just the taxpayers who pay for all of these conservative business failures. Albertans whose needs are ignored or denied are victims as well. Now, the favorite target in this year's budget are seniors, who will each pay up to $1,000 per year more for services they need. It's a shameful way to treat the women and men who built this province, Mr. Speaker. Now, in Vegreville, with the highest percentage of seniors of any constituency in the province, and with over 50 people still waiting on the waiting list, this government refused, again, to provide the much-needed funds for construction of a 40-bed addition to the Vegreville Auxiliary Hospital and Nursing Home. And I'd just like to ask the Minister of Health how she can justify being part of a government that wastes hundreds of millions of dollars on phony business deals while refusing to spend a few million to build this much-needed facility.
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I know that the New Democrats have been throwing around this figure of $1,000 for senior citizens, both here in the House and outside publicly, and I want to set the record straight. Some senior citizens will not be impacted at all by some of the decisions that we've made in the budget. Others will be. So to say and to leave the impression with senior citizens of this province that they're all going to be paying more money for services is false, and I want to set that record straight. Secondly, with respect to capital programs, certainly, Mr. Speaker, we've had to make some difficult choices not only on the operational side of this budget, as we've discussed at length in the legislature, but also on the capital side. And we had to identify some priorities in the health capital budget, which this year is about $130 million worth of capital projects that are being built around the province. Projects like the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton, the Holy Cross Hospital in Calgary, and many other facilities, including long-term facilities, are part of that $130 million that we're building. The Vegreville Centre is not one of those that will be on the building list this year, but let's look at the things that we are doing in Vegreville to ensure that we minimize the impact of those seniors who are in need of long-term placement. One of which is a pilot day program that we've started out in the Vegreville community, which will hopefully take some of the pressure off the need for long-term beds.
Mr. Speaker, I have a petition here signed by over 2,100 Albertans reminding the Premier of his promise during the 1989 election campaign to build this facility and urging action on this important project. I'll send it to the Minister. But recognizing that only $500,000 would bring this important project through the final design ready for tender stage, and recognizing that the Minister of Economic Development can waste that much money over coffee making up these phony business deals, will the Minister make a commitment today to provide the $500,000 to bring this project one step closer to reality?
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member has a petition, presumably he would like to table it in this assembly as opposed to just this one-on-one contact that he's trying in order that those people's views may be made known to all members of the assembly. He should also be aware that there are some other projects that we had to delay, including Vegreville, but including many others. There's about 30 on that list that are deferred. We chose the ones that we thought were most important that they proceed in this year. And the project in Vegreville, as I've explained, will be assisted in terms of those people waiting by community programs that we're putting into Vegreville on a pilot basis. And I'm hopeful that the project will be able to go in the shortest possible time and the most needed health basis. That's the criteria by which we judge those projects.
Mr. Speaker, in spite of the best efforts of the staff and administration, conditions at the Vegreville Auxiliary Hospital and Nursing Home leave much to be desired. It's not wheelchair accessible, there's poor heating, inadequate space for dining and recreation, limited washroom and bathing facilities. And I'd like to ask the Minister how she can justify increasing the cost to seniors of living in this facility when she doesn't seem to be prepared to make a firm commitment to replace and make additions to it.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I am sure that the staff and the people that work in that facility are doing their very best, and I believe providing excellent care to the people in that facility, and that should be their goal. Remember, this was the party, Mr. Speaker, that said that we should not be building any capital programs in this project.
That's right. That's right.
This government happens to believe that a capital development...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Edmonton Glengarry.
My questions are to the Associate Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Speaker. Today, the federal government announced a $400 million package to bolster the safety net programs for Canadian farmers. As part of that package, there are new incentives to involve provinces in the NISA plan, that is the Net Income Stabilization Act account. Mr. Speaker, the government of Alberta has chosen not to involve itself previously in this plan. The Saskatchewan government has. Alberta farmers tell me that they like the NISA plan because it allows for money pools to be developed to allow farmers to draw on those money pools in bad economic times, and it allows for, as they see it, an easier transition of the family farm to the children of the mothers and fathers that are running those farms. My first question to the Minister is this. Mr. Minister, will you confirm, having had an opportunity to look at these new details, will the Minister confirm that she, having had an opportunity to look at these new details, will she confirm that the Alberta government will now participate in NISA and give Alberta farmers that little extra hand that they need?
They know it's down. Well, Mr. Speaker, As the honorable member is aware that in January we participated in an announcement on the safety net program with the honorable federal minister. At that time we entered into the revenue insurance option and said at that time that we would defer our decision on the net income stabilization account. The reasons that we outlined at that time were that we had a significant contribution of some $49 million to the revenue insurance option, and that we felt it was imperative that that program be in place by spring. Obviously, that took a lot of time because it involves a contract as an addition to the crop insurance contract on yield insurance. And I would say that our staff in the Hail and Crop Corporation and in Alberta Agriculture have been working very, very hard to implement this program in time for our producers to enter into it this spring. We, at that time, also discussed the NISA program and said that we would be deferring our decision at that time because there was not the time crunch on NISA that there was on GRIP. Also because of our fiscal responsibilities and our very significant contribution to agriculture in the GRIP program as well as other programs, we would defer that decision. And no, I cannot confirm today that the Alberta government will enter into NISA.
Thank you. Supplementary. Mr. Speaker, I can't think of an industry that is as badly hit economically as the agricultural industry. Everybody else in Canada seems to be able to deal with this. I think that the minister has enough staff to be able to make decisions. Why is it? Why is it that we continue to be tardy and negligent and leave monies on the table in Ottawa and not help Alberta farmers? Why are we doing that, Madam Minister?
Well, that's a very noble plea on behalf of agriculture from the opposition leader. However, he makes some very, very erroneous assumptions in that. First, this government's commitment to agriculture is unprecedented any province in Canada. We have been there for our farmers, and we continue to be there for our farmers. We contribute in a farm fuel distribution allowance, in fertilizer, on the input cost side, on the credit side. And our farmers receive benefits that no other farmers in Canada receive. I would remind the honourable member...
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. I'm sure we can have shorter questions and shorter answers, and a little more quiet in the place, too. Deputy Glengarry, final.
Mr. Speaker, all I want to know is when this decision will be given. When will it be made so that Alberta farmers, Mr. Minister, can start planning for their future and dealing with this tough economic time? When are we going to get that answer?
Mr. Speaker, the decisions that have been made by this government are what give the farmers of this province the opportunity to plan for their future, and have allowed them to plan for a future from many years back, not just jumping in today in one program. We are there in many of the ones. I won't go through them again. We had an opportunity Thursday last to discuss agriculture estimates and our commitment to agriculture. I would have invited the honourable member to be a part of that discussion. This announcement this morning of $400 million involves a commitment to the permanent cover program, which we are a participant in. An involvement in the reduction of 25% of the producer's premium costs in the revenue portion. Also, the very substantial commitment to the continuance of the cash advances. These are very important to our farmers, and we, on this side of the House, have worked very hard with our federal government to see that these were in place. We will consider the offer under NISA with our colleagues, and we will do it in a very careful and measured way as to what are the best interests of the agriculture producers in Canada or in Alberta, as we have.
Good work, Shirley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question, too, is to the Associate Minister of Agriculture. There's been some confusion among my constituents regarding the GRIP program. Since it was first announced, there has been many changes to it. And I have come across a number of people who feel uncomfortable about enrolling in a program without knowing all the details. My question to the Minister is, will there be any more changes to the GRIP program?
The changes that the member is discussing in the revenue insurance program have been made, and I think that the information is going out now to all producers in follow-up meetings that we're holding. The most substantial change in the revenue insurance option involves those producers who have not been involved in crop insurance and that are high producers above the area average. And we have introduced an offset in that program to assist those. As we indicated when we introduced the program, Mr. Speaker, this is an interim year, and we will have a committee that will be monitoring the program over the year to see if there are indeed any other enhancements or adjustments that are required to make the program work better for our producers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My supplementary is, the Minister mentioned that there's held a number of meetings, but due to the time of the year when the farmers are now in the field and haven't been able to attend the meetings, is there one particular place can they go to receive that information?
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, there is. Our hail and crop offices are spread throughout our province in a very decentralized way to offer that opportunity to our producers wherever they may be in agricultural production. And our staff have been working very hard, very long hours to answer the questions. There is also the staff at Alberta Agriculture District offices which have been participating in sharing this very important information to our producers in time proceeding. Also, we invite calls to the Minister's office if required. Thank you.
Edmonton Calder, please.
Mr. Speaker, on April 11th in the House, the Minister of Health outlined a number of initiatives which she says will meet the needs of people who are in desperate need of psychiatric crisis services. One of those being hospital emergency units. But hospital emergency units, Mr. Speaker, are geared for people experiencing physical trauma, like heart attacks and car accidents. This is just not the appropriate place of care for people who are in a severe mental breakdown or in crisis. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Health, given even a Department of Health memo, which I will table, states that the establishment of psychiatric crisis center is a high priority for the Mental Health Division, will the Minister admit that general hospital emergency units are inappropriate and take immediate action to establish a community-based mental health crisis center?
Mr. Speaker, I've referred often to the choices that were part of the health budget, and not everyone got what they wanted in terms of working through an appropriate budget plan, including the Minister of Health. I have said publicly that I was a proponent of that center, but made a choice, and that was to increase and enhance the community side of our mental health programs this year by an increase of 13%. I agree with the honourable member that in times past, an emergency unit in a general hospital is not the best place for a psychiatric emergency. but I believe we all have to work better to get best use out of the facilities we have, and that is why we've asked our provincial suicidologist, to my knowledge the only one operating within a Department of Health in Canada, to work with hospital emergency teams and community support to ensure that we can have a better mix between the community and the institution as we deal with the issue of psychiatric emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, people are dying because they cannot get appropriate services. And it is proven that community-based support services like a crisis center would be less costly than using general hospital units. And I would ask the Minister, will the Minister not reconsider working with groups like the Canadian Mental Health Association to develop this 24-hour emergency care with the appropriate people in the appropriate place, which is in the community?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can make that commitment and continue to make the commitment that I will continue to work with the Canadian Mental Health Association, but not just the Canadian Mental Health Association. There are other players in this, including general hospitals, including the psychiatric hospital, for example, in Edmonton, the Alberta Hospital, Edmonton, and also with other community groups who are interested. I am certainly prepared and will continue to work with those groups to ensure that we're getting the best value out of our health resources, including those that are specifically aimed at supporting the psychiatric patient and those in crisis situations.
Edmonton Whiteman.
Mr. Speaker, last year this caucus raised the matter of grants in lieu of taxes being reduced by 6%. After an outcry and a very successful lobby by municipalities, the Minister of Public Works and Supply and Services reversed his position and provided the same funding level as the previous year, which incidentally is still a decrease when one takes into consideration inflation. Apparently this hardline measure was because of budgetary concerns. My question to the Minister: would the Minister explain why, according to the Alberta Gazette of March the 30th, 1991, $1.4 million of surplus funds available in the Grants in Lieu of Taxes program was transferred to buy furniture on February the 24th, 1990, a month before the Minister made his initial hardline announcement?
Mr. Speaker, in any program that occurs over a 12-month period, the program ends on March 31 of any particular fiscal year. And a program such as the Grants in Lieu of Taxes program, that is a grant that the province pays to all municipalities in this province, Mr. Speaker, in lieu of property tax. This is an optional grant. At any time during that year, some property that the province would own is liquidated or sold. Other additional properties are brought in. So what you do is estimate at the beginning of the year. Fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, that for the fiscal year 1991-92, the amount of money that's available under the grants in lieu of taxes has been increased a whopping 18.7% as compared to last year, Mr. Speaker. Municipalities are extremely delighted with this whole program, Mr. Speaker. I've undertaken consultation along with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, with the Alberta Association of Municipal Districts and Counties, the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, Improvement Districts, Mr. Speaker, and, Mr. Speaker, there's general harmony in the land.
No answer.
Mr. Speaker, would the Minister tell this Assembly what furniture was more important to him at that time than an obligation he had to the municipalities?
Mr. Speaker, when you look at a budget of some $500+ million, and one of the great joys that I have each year in this Legislative Assembly is an opportunity to appear before the Public Accounts Committee in which the specifics of a particular budget are dealt with. And I would look forward, Mr. Speaker, to receiving an invitation from the Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, who, by the way, Mr. Speaker, is a member of the NDP caucus. And should I be invited to appear before the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Speaker, I would be delighted to deal with any specific item that any honorable member would have with respect to any expenditure item in any budget under my supervision in previous years. I would point out as well, Mr. Speaker, that tomorrow the estimates of the Department of Public Works, Supply and Services will be before this Assembly, and I really look forward to discussing the estimates that will include a whopping 18.7% increase in grants in lieu of taxes to all of the municipalities in the province of Alberta that are beneficiaries under this program, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. Let me go. Red Deer North.
Mr. Speaker, my question today is to the Minister of Labor, and it's regarding the proposed new Safety Codes Act. A constituent recently expressed concern to me that the new proposed act is actually going to lower safety standards in the province. I would suggest that any government lowering the standards of safety would be irresponsible. And also I would suggest that anybody who would tell citizens untruthfully that standards are going to be lowered would also be irresponsible. My constituent got this information from a news release from the opposition. I'd like to ask the Minister of Labor to clarify the situation, take responsibility. Is this new proposed Safety Codes Act going to lower safety standards or not?
Mr. Speaker, the answer is absolutely not. It will lead to improved safety. Let me make 2 points. One is that the Liberal Party news release, which has been disseminated, has been misleading Albertans on 2 grounds. The first of them is on an allegation that the International Union of Elevator Constructors was not consulted with. And surely enough, they are a major stakeholder group, and surely enough, that is a misrepresentation. Mr. Ty Lund, who is also MLA for Rocky Mountain House and who chairs our steering committee, our implementation committee on this code, was very quick to point out to me afterwards that in fact they are represented. They're represented by Mr. Blakely, who also happens to be president of the Alberta Building Trades Council. But secondly, the Albertans are being misled about the purpose and effect of the new act. Well, let me be clear that the new act will not replace existing safety statutes, and it will not replace existing safety codes. Those are going to remain in effect. What the legislation is enabling legislation, and it will allow us to, in fact, set up a more stringent and also a more comprehensive framework for safety in this province, and, in fact, to give the stakeholders more of a role in that network.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's possibly some reassurance there, but I'm still concerned. The minister mentioned the elevator situation, and my information is over the last 6 years there's been a decrease in the number of elevator inspections. Could the minister please tell us, as there appears to have been a corresponding rise in investigation, why is her department decreasing these investigations, and is safety being threatened in this area?
Mr. Speaker, in fact, what we are doing is establishing a risk management system, and in the elevators and other fixed conveyances area, we have moved to a more preventative role and have relied and leaned very heavily on manufacturers and others such to maintain the elevators in safety. And certainly since they have a legal liability to do so, that has happened. But as for the question of statistics, let me just review a few numbers here. On accident investigations, these have not steadily increased in recent years. We had 33 investigations in 1983, 1984. Last year we had only 18. So in fact there is no clear trend. They go up and down year to year, if I may say so.
Oh, very good.
There is, however, no clear trend. Now, as well, only a small portion of those investigations involve passenger elevators. Some, in fact, are investigations on freight elevators, some on dumbwaiters, some on escalators and other elevating devices. There are about 7,500 elevators in Alberta. Last year, only 6 of those elevators had problems that required our investigation, and that is a rate of...
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you, Honourable Member. I'm sorry to go up and down, but we need to escalate the speed of question period. Edmonton Kingsway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Notice I left.
Mr. Speaker, both the Treasurer and the Minister of Economic Development have tried to fool Albertans into believing that they would not lose any of that loan guarantee to Peace River Fertilizer. In August of 1990, Mr. Keith Wiggins, the Senior Director of Business Finance in the Minister's own department, is on record as saying that the government will make no attempt to recoup the $6 million in that loan guarantee. Mr. Wiggins is also on the record as saying that the fertilizer plant would not sustain such a heavy debt, and further that the plant itself has only a fairly nominal value, were his words. Now, given that a senior official of his own department has contradicted the minister's words, will he quit distorting the facts and admit that the taxpayers of Alberta are going to lose that $6 million?
Mr. Speaker, I would like the honourable member to show me where in the record we indicated that we were not going to suffer. He didn't say that. Where we were not going to suffer any losses. I've indicated to them on a consistent basis when they've raised these issues as it relates to our loan guarantees and our involvement in improving the economy that there are going to be certain failures, and we acknowledge that. But for the honourable member to suggest that we've indicated otherwise, again, is a misrepresentation of the facts. We've indicated we've got an obligation to create jobs, and in the process of creating those jobs, sometimes we are going to have failures, and we acknowledge that.
Well, in the next election. Brad Hansard yesterday, quoting from the minister, he says, for him to suggest, meaning me, that there has been money lost is a total distortion of the facts. There has been money lost. $6 million.
There you go.
Now, Mr. Wiggins has also on record as saying that legal difficulties still stand in the way of selling this company to a new buyer. So will the minister admit that for this department to give money or give a loan guarantee to a company whose ownership was in the middle of a bitter dispute was absolutely foolish?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is involving himself in the distortion of facts as I indicated yesterday. All he has to do is look at the record. I indicated, and I readily admit, that for him to indicate we're going to lose $6 million at this time is a distortion of the facts. We haven't determined to a large degree to the amount that we're going to lose. We are in the process of attempting to sell our security to another company that wishes to take this fertilizer business over. Once that is completed, I'm more than happy to share what the possibility is good that we're going to lose money. I indicated earlier, and I tabled in the Legislative Assembly earlier, a percentage of losses that we're involved in, some 3% in our export loan guarantees. We readily admit it. As the honourable member requested, I was happy to table the information. I wish the honourable member in turn would table the information that he is referring to.
The chair has really been quite concerned about that last set of questions, and I know yesterday some other questions were offered by Athabasca Laklabish, and there was some concern there, violation of the rule of anticipation, and I would hope that caucuses would at least save us all this hassle that on the day when the estimates are going to be called, we can avoid questions in that department entirely, so we don't need to worry about the fine line that's going on, because this went across the line. Got a problem with standing orders, honourable member? Thank you very much. Thank you. Edmonton Belmont.
Mr. Speaker, the government has been long on rhetoric of supporting people services and very short on funding the number of necessary programs. The money that the government has lost due to mismanagement directly affects the very many and needy Albertans, the programs that many Albertans require. The case in point is the funding of the support services for the physically challenged at AVC Edmonton. So my question is to the Minister of Career Development and Employment. There's every indication that the government will end the support services for the physically challenged program at the end of June due to a lack of funding. Can the Minister assure the students that are currently in the program that these essential support services will be continued after June?
Let's vote.
Well, Mr. Speaker, to all members of the Assembly, I think the honourable member should be well aware that it was the federal government's participation that has been lacked, not the commitment by the province of Alberta. And as well, the province of Alberta, with cooperation with other departments, has ensured that the program will be in place and is working very close with the institution to suitably place the commitment that it had made.
Research. Well, Mr. Speaker, it's our understanding that it's a 50-50 cost share program, but the 50% that Ottawa gives is driven by the 50% that the province of Alberta first puts up. And that's what's happened, is that the province has cut back its share of funding. So given that this program can be cost shared with the federal government, will the minister reconsider his decision to fund the program now?
Hear, hear.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's very interesting. I don't know what I'd have to do to penetrate to the honourable member the answer. And the answer is simply this, and clearly. We have honoured that commitment. We have kept our end of the bargain and are continuing with the program. What else can I say?
Yeah, what do you want? Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think all members agree that the Causey report produced some extremely shocking statistics with respect to Aboriginal women. 80% of Aboriginal women from reserves or otherwise had experienced family violence, clearly 8 times higher than the incidence for society as a whole. A study of Métis families in the Edmonton area reported that 70% of respondents had been physically abused, 87% had been emotionally abused, and 39% had been sexually abused. Mr. Speaker, the report also points a very direct finger at the government for their lack of leadership in programming and support, particularly for Indian and Métis women. We simply must respond to this most tragic and critical situation, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, the Causey report recommended the province provide assistance in establishing holistic Aboriginal family-oriented counseling services and also counseling centers for men. When will the minister be acting on this recommendation?
Mr. Speaker, we're certainly appreciative of the good work that Justice Causey has done, and this government takes all those recommendations very seriously, Mr. Speaker. I'd want to point out to the member, though, that firstly, as a department, we're very sensitive to some of the special and unique needs of our Native community and our Métis community, and I know the member is very familiar with some of the recent legislation that we've tabled in this legislature. She's very familiar with some of the good work that we're doing in cooperation with the Native and Métis community. I would only say to the member, Mr. Speaker, that I currently am involved in discussions with my colleagues, along with discussions with the federal minister responsible for Native issues, Honourable Mr. Sidden, in that we're working very closely to bring forward some administrative reforms that we think will help to address some of these outstanding issues.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. No one expects the government to go it alone, Mr. Speaker, but we do expect some leadership here. The report also called for assistance to Aboriginal groups to establish safe houses for Aboriginal women, especially for remote and rural communities. When is the minister going to do something about this particular part of the tragedy that we see?
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, the member for Gold Bar is quite right that no one expects this government alone to solve all of those outstanding issues. I can only reiterate that we are working very closely, myself and my colleagues. We are involving ourselves in a very meaningful way with discussions with the Native and Métis community. We're working with our federal counterparts. But again, Mr. Speaker, I can say again, within my own department, some of the initiatives, the recent initiatives that we've taken as it relates to cross-cultural awareness, cross-cultural training, as it relates to a Native child welfare unit in Calgary, as it relates to Native bursaries, Mr. Speaker, recognizing that it's important to have Native workers that are trained and able to provide those services directly. Mr. Speaker, the member knows full well that we've made much progress, but we know full well that there is more to be done. And we're committed, Mr. Speaker, to continue to work with our federal counterparts, with my colleagues on this side of the House, and directly, Mr. Speaker, with the Native community. I believe, Mr. Speaker, with that kind of a partnership, with the kind of genuine efforts that are coming forward on behalf of all parties, that we are going to be able to forge ahead, that we are going to be able to continue to make meaningful progress, and that we are going to find solutions, Mr. Speaker.
Bow Valley.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Honourable Minister in charge of lotteries. We all know that the Community Enhancement Program ends later this year, and my constituents are asking a lot of questions about what's going to happen to the lottery money. Will the Community Enhancement Program be extended, or will it be put into other programs?
Mr. Speaker, the Community Facility Enhancement Program, which was introduced by the Premier of Alberta on October 17, 1988, will terminate on October 17, 1991. And at the conclusion of the program, Mr. Speaker, near $100 million will have been transferred from the Alberta Lottery Fund to literally upwards of 3,000 community-based groups throughout the province of Alberta. And that program is scheduled, Mr. Speaker, to, I repeat, to terminate October 17, 1991. And there are no plans to have another program, Mr. Speaker. That would depend entirely on what the response of the citizens will be. We've asked, as I indicated several days ago, Mr. Speaker, that a survey is being undertaken with respect to the importance of this program, and presumably by the end of June of this year, we'll have a pretty good understanding of what the citizens have said with respect to this program, and we'll take that data and that information, Mr. Speaker, to assess whether or not the citizens of Alberta would ask the government to implement another program like the Community Facility Enhancement Program.
Well, Mr. Speaker, a lot of people in Alberta now are making suggestions about earmarking programs for the use of lottery money. Other ones are concerned that it will just go into general revenue. Could the minister tell us whether or not there has been a decision to put all the lottery money into general revenue?
Mr. Speaker, one of the positives that has occurred in recent years is the fiscal management by this government of the dollars that it has responsibility for. And we've been able to accumulate in the Alberta Lottery Fund a surplus, Mr. Speaker, which at April 1, 1990 was some $237 million. A few weeks ago, when the provincial treasurer brought down the provincial budget for fiscal 1991-92, statements are contained in the budget that there will be a transfer out of the lottery surplus fund of $225 million into the general revenue fund. Those dollars, Mr. Speaker, would go to assist senior citizens, victims of violence, programs such as the one of the Minister of Career Development and Employment talked about a few minutes ago, the physically challenged to the Alberta Vocational Centres, health care assistance to post-secondary institutions. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, a document was made public by me effective April 1, 1991, would also show that there would be a commitment of $114 million to a large variety of volunteer groups throughout the province of Alberta for this fiscal year. Examples, Mr. Speaker, the Alberta Sport Council will receive $9,110,000. The Alberta Historical Resources Foundation, $2,850,000. The Alberta Environmental Research Trust, $200,000. $5 million will be set aside for advanced medical equipment.
Point of order, Edmonton Glengarry.
Beauchesne 4082, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it relates to the series of questions that were put by the honourable member from Whitemud to the Minister of Public Works. We're used to having deflections in answers from honourable ministers. That's part of the daily routine of this House, except when we saw the last questions and answers put. The answers were pretty direct to the question that was put by the honourable member. But with respect to the exchange that took place that I referred to earlier, that had to be the lowest of the low, Mr. Speaker, because there was no answer. It was not a deflection. It wasn't even cleverly crafted. Mr. Speaker, it was a waste of the time of this assembly, and it shouldn't be allowed to take place again.
Well, thank you for the representation, honourable member. I'm sure that it does apply to a number of the answers, but unfortunately it also applies to a lot of the questions. But nevertheless, I do accept it as a valid point. But again, I'm quite certain that all honourable members involved in question period will read, mark, learn, and inwardly digest themselves. Orders of the day.
Papers of the minutes.
Order, honorable member, no? I'm very curious procedure for an experienced member of the House. Order. I'm quite certain that you'll be here tomorrow morning. We could try it then. At the appropriate place, if you wish. I don't know. Thank you. All right, now.